can't you can't
I get
have
one now.
yeah, you can't have a rational conversation about life and death talking about it as cops and robbers.
Right.
Those are human beings out there, man.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Those are human beings.
Right.
How do you justify dividing them that way?
Unfair division for one.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're part of our families,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
black and white. And look, this is America. One of the situations that we have in our reality is that the two countries are merging. It's some crazy family photos out there now.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
When they put the year by year picture up of the family, you start with some Confederate soldier stuff and you end up with a Vietnamese baby, a black child, and the Chinese baby that the Chinese twins they adopted. You
Mm-hmm.
understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So like it's a lot these lines are not
Real.
distinct lines.
Yeah.
It's a construct.
Right. Right.
And it's starting to blur,
Right.
right? But meanwhile, you have this group of people that is still suffering the effects of this virus. And it's like, take the people that say, take the people that when you say something like, you know, a cop killed a guy, and they'll say like, well, there's murders in Chicago. All right, look, the problem for us is not that we're trying to pit one against the other, it's that we're dealing with both of them at the same time. The streets are more violent than they've ever been.
Right.
That doesn't, that's not everybody out shooting. That's a broader base of criminal element. Most of your citizens are trying to navigate that. And the police is who should be their defense against the crime that y'all are pitting it against.
Right.
So here I am, just Joe Bag of Donuts, trying to get from here to the bakery where I work, and I have to navigate these dangerous ass streets. These people are not in my family.
Right.
They just live in my neighborhood. And so I'm trying to navigate that, and at the same time, I'm scared the cops are going to shoot me. And so when I say, hey, we got 11 organizations trying to address violence in the black community. They're never on TV, but some of them are as big as Black Lives Matter. And I mean, the community is trying to address that. But when you say, hey, these cops are shooting us on the porch,
Right.
people are like, but what about the murders? And you're like, yeah, I'm scared of that too.
Right. But like, who am I supposed to call if I
Right.
get caught up in that shit? If they, bro, like who said it? Somebody said, um, there was like some. Oh, matter, I'm mad because it was fucking daylight. He was you know how he take his time to talk to the people sometimes. And he was talking about how niggas could come up to jack you, take you for all your shit, and you like think to call the police, but it's like, do you even call them? Because they'll show up and
Right.
they don't know what's going on and
And
shoot
shoot you.
You know what I'm saying?
And so it's this impossible puzzle. And so like when you're talking to people and they want to argue about violence in the streets, you're like, exactly.
Right.
But here's the thing. That's not the narrative that's on TV because we don't have a voice in the media.
Right.
And so when you say the media is not telling our story, that's an example of a story that's not being framed right because the people who are telling it have no idea what the hell they're talking about. And so they listen to this argument and they think it's a legitimate point to pit the murders in Chicago versus the cops shooting the guy 17 times after he tried to surrender, right? And what we are saying is We are trying to weave our way between both of those things. We're between a rock and a hard place. We're trying to do what we can on the community side, and we need your help on the cop side, and they're throwing it in our face like, well, your communities are violent. Well, no shit.
And it's getting worse because now there's no protection.
And so now you have this conflict. And so do we want to open a third front?
Oh, kinetic. Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Loud and clear.
And all of this happens inside the context of the Matrix, where you have the corporations that are trying to digitize the world and the naturalists that are trying to get it back to some sort of state where we're sure we'll be able to breathe the air and drink the water.
Right.
It's a tempest in a teapot. But it's our lives at stake.
Right.
And so the question comes back to, do you wait to see what's going to happen, or do you take the controls and make something happen? I come from the camp that says you take the controls and make something happen. And that's why your corporation would be a tool, because again, see, look, I'm not trying to start a war with these people.
Just trying to survive.
I'm trying to survive.
Right.
If we all pick up arms
We'll
to
die.
protect ourselves, right, from these crazy people that live with us, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to see that shit as terrorism.
Right.
You can't do that. But now here's what they're not afraid of. A corporate security force? No problem. It's marketing. If the Panthers were alive today, this is what they would tell you. Again, this is not, I'm not describing separating physically necessarily
No, I know.
from America. I'm saying you need a separate infrastructure. Now, eventually your infrastructure is going to require land. It's 1 million trappers out here that's been stacking chips for years, trying to figure out a way to come out of the dark. Some of them become OGs before they figure it out. Because look, this is America, and crime is how all the great families got their start. But the trick has always been to turn it at some point so that it went from being dirty money to being clean money, so that you could do the things that your community needed, right? And so your Rockefellers, your Gettys, your Kennedys, blah, blah, blah. There's always some little shady crime at the beginning that funds the operation, right? We need to get in boys someplace to put that money. And we need to legitimize it in such a way, because see, we have to heal our community. We have to re-embrace even those elements that we're pretty sure are crazy. And we have to build the mental health facilities to deal with that crazy. America's not going to do it. But we're not thinking strategically as a nation. We are disorganized. And I told you, you need a finance guy, you need a corporate attorney, you need a technology guy. You need somebody who understands the internet really, really well. You need some teachers to develop a better system for educating black people, black children. You need some scientists. And you need some diplomats, because we need to start establishing relationships in these African nations, figuring out what raw materials they have, and setting up the trade operation to get them over here, so that we can make stuff out of them and trade back with them. America doesn't want to buy your movies because we're strong in entertainment, and when you start giving those entertainers the opportunity and the lots, and you have the funding to be able to greenlight movies, you'll see our entertainers come home. We make good movies. And if America doesn't like them, I bet Nigeria will.
Right.
We have to think globally. Again, it's strategic, but it comes from a doctrine of saying, hey, look, we have to become self-sufficient, and this is the path that you come down to get there.
Right.
Now, if those people step forward and we commence to making bread and bottling water, what you want to do with it, because again, remember, we're trying to build an infrastructure and an administration for a nation. So what you want to do is you want to buy a huge swath of land and you want to put your corporate headquarters there. And you want your corporate headquarters to be a monument to the experience of black people in America. You want to write down all the names that we've been remembering for centuries. You need to start recording the stories of what this experience has been for us, because a nation needs to develop a culture.
Okay, step down. That's
Yeah. A nation has to develop a culture. Our culture has run amok. We were depending on America to fund it, and when Reagan cut it and quit teaching kids instruments, we stopped having music, we stopped creating music, and we started blending sounds. And our culture musically has gone that direction. And I'm not here to judge it, but ultimately, whatever form it takes, we need to redirect it to telling our story again. We have a complex story that involves love and jealousy and hate and aspiration and hope and spirituality. And 90% of the music that we buy is about bitches and hoes. And it distorts the perception of our community that the world has, but at the same time, it hurts us because it becomes what we behold, and by beholding, you become changed. When you dumb this conversation down to white cop shoots black guy, not only are you missing the point, you are standing in the bullseye of a target range. And that's not where we need to stand.
Right. Right. I feel you. I feel you.
There are ways out of this. We need to say we want to live as a community. We need to establish a corporation. We need to build a loaf of bread, bake a loaf of bread. And we need to build an economic infrastructure to fund a social infrastructure. The last piece is defense.
Protecting the land, well, as far as you can protect.
Well, what you're actually doing is protecting our communities.
At the start. Well, at the end of it too. It's the same thing.
Right.
Principle.
But what you do it, the way that you do it, is by securing all of the companies that you do business with or own. And so as you are standing up companies, you send a security force there to start to generally police that community. And you make it a point to hire our men because we have unemployment that's out of control. But if you are creating businesses and you are establishing a market presence and you're buying and selling and trading with and to yourself, you can afford that. You become self-sustaining.
Right.
That's the point. We have not allowed black nationalist thought to evolve since Malcolm X. And that's not to say that there aren't poets and authors and stuff that are writing about it, but it has not captured any relevant space in our internal dialogue. But we need to disengage from white America, and we need to re-engage with ourselves, and we need to start rewriting our history going forward.
Right.
Our other option is to die.
Take the first hit if we end up taking hits like that.
We're
Like,
taking them now.
oh, I understand that, but like I said, it's what I mean is pretty much like when you have these protests that if they end up, there's bound to be a protest that ends up with
That's
more than
why.
just a shooting.
That's why if Black America was to follow my plan, right, the first rule would be, look, the protest comes inside.
Right.
We're going to build an economic protest that we can sustain,
Right.
because we don't have the businesses to get you out of jail. We don't have the people to record that you're going in jail. We don't have the trainers. We don't have the training. The church has fallen off the map. There's nobody going in the basements of churches and learning how to protest or any of that.
Yeah.
Y'all just out here wilding.
Right.
And I understand the rage. I support the rage. But there's supposed to be, this is what elders are for. There's supposed to be elders that are saying, all right, this is how we do this. And those elders are missing, primarily locked up. But some of them are people like me, and I'm trying to pass it to you because it's not getting passed.
Right.
I understand social media, but I don't understand viral.
Right. Okay.
I don't understand it.
Right.
I know what it is. I get how it happens. I don't understand what that spark is that makes an idea go viral.
Right.
What I'm telling you is something that needs to go viral, because this is something that we could turn on in an instant. And it doesn't require some mass exodus from America. As you build new pieces of the tool, you call people out.
Right.
Hey, look, man, you 5 years from retiring, go ahead, get your pension. When you get done, we got a job for you.
Right.
Middle America, we see you.
Right.
Do what you're doing. Get that knowledge, because we're going to need it, because we're about to start writing contracts.
Right.
To you unemployed and poor, we have jobs. Come in, let us train you to do them, and you can have them.